This is KC Sports Tonight.
Welcome into KC Sports Tonight. Marleah, Campbell, Gabe, Swartz. A lot to talk about because we finally have had some games played. Gabe, I know I'm excited. We've had a couple college football games over the weekend, a big day yesterday NFL-wise. Chiefs got to sit back and relax with a Week 1 win in their pocket. Now we look ahead to Week 2 and a matchup that I think just got a little bit more interesting because the Bengals opened up yesterday against the Patriots with the biggest expected win, favored gap, whatever, in the NFL at 7.5 points. They ended up losing, getting upset to the Patriots. Bengals come to town on Sunday now for Week 2 against the 1-0 Chiefs. Gabe, your thoughts? Did you get to catch a little bit of the Bengals game yesterday? And are you surprised that they're heading into Arrowhead 0-1?
I watched every snap of it. It was on KCTV. I was interested to see how it went. And I honestly thought I wasn't going to be paying much attention to it after they got up early and held a comfortable lead, and would probably turn most of my attention to red zone or something other than or even pay a little bit more attention to the Royals, but it turned out to be a very intriguing game because the Bengals kind of looked like what they've tended to look like in Week 1 and Week 2 under Zach Taylor, which is not a good football team. They've been 1-10 in Weeks 1 and 2 under Zach Taylor, and specifically with a lot of that being Joe Burrow. It's just, it doesn't make sense.
Why? Yeah, why is that?
I don't know if they run like the worst training camp in the league.
That's what, it has to go back to the offseason, you would think, right? I mean, you start to lose the it's just a fluke. Like the Chiefs last season, dropping to the Lions was like, okay, well, Chris Jones was watching, Travis Kelce was hurt, but consistently Andy Reid wins in Week 1. To go 1-10 in season openers that's kind of like something's got to give here, right?
Yeah. I mean, they spent the offseason arguing with Jamar Chase about money. They told T. Higgins that they were just going to franchise tag him, and now he's dealing with this hamstring injury. Probably doesn't feel a ton of obligation to return. I know Adam Schefter was saying today that Higgins is not expected to – he would be surprised if Higgins played against the Chiefs on Sunday. So they're just a mess. They're coming into Arrowhead kind of – needing a win, and it feels like I don't think that the Chiefs have played Cincinnati before like the month of December.
It's been a while
in the Joe Burrow era. So it's been a lot of these late season games, and to have them early in the year when the Bengals are almost always in flux is interesting because I don't necessarily think that the Bengals are the best contender in the AFC to the Chiefs. I think it's more likely than not that it's probably Baltimore, which we saw in a really good game on Thursday night. But if the Chiefs can take advantage of the fact that they're not firing on all cylinders, which is the way it typically is at the start of the year, then you would go out of the first 2 weeks of the season with head-to-head tiebreaker over two of the probably top 5, top 6 contenders in the AFC to challenge you, and teams that will probably be vying for playoff spots. I thought it was shocking how poor Burrow looked, and how often it was just check downs and underneath stuff. And man, it was rough. I saw a stat from, I think it was Next Gen Stats, that had Ramondre Stevenson running for 122 yards, and 119 of them were yards after contact. So the Bengals weren't tackling great. I think that's something that if you're Isaiah Pacheco, you're like, I'm ready to run.
Day.
I'm ready to run through some guys on the Bengals. Yeah. So it was a shocking game.
I'm curious, and we'll talk more about the Chiefs, but since we're kind of on this subject, Burrow playing so poorly, do you attribute that to maybe just getting some rust off? Obviously, he spent the back half of last season with that wrist injury, or was it just a bad night?
I mean, he's not been healthy for any training camp.
Yeah.
I know last year he had the calf issue. This year he's recovering from a wrist injury from last year that, based on all things that I've read, it's like all of the injuries, or this specific injury, it's like has only been found in like offensive linemen. Like there was no history of quarterbacks doing this, and there was a good portion of training camp where the Bengals were not allowing Joe Burrow to throw on 3 consecutive days. So the vibes in Cincinnati are just not good at all. So I don't think that it was just a bad day. I think they just are off to a terrible start.
Yeah, stumbling out of the gate here. Speaking of injury updates, Hollywood Brown, the Chiefs wide receiver, so he got hurt in the Jacksonville game, the preseason game, on the very first play of the game, actually. Messed up his kind of shoulder clavicle area. He did not need surgery. He went to the hospital in Jacksonville. He did not need surgery, so that gave him a 3 to 4 week recovery time. This past Saturday, so the 7th, was the 4-week mark, which in theory tells us, okay, this week he might be able to go. Andy Reid was asked about it today, and I thought it was good news for Chiefs Kingdom and for Hollywood Brown. He said he's getting close. I know he's feeling better. Went on to say it looks like he's heading in the right direction right now. He's going to go through a lot of tests and things this week. But, Gabe, this would be a good get for the Chiefs to bring back. Do you see him taking the field on Sunday, or do you think the Chiefs might kind of proceed with caution here?
I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm completely just guesstimating in this sense. But I would lean toward, based on the fact that, as we just discussed, that the Bengals are not doing great, that you looked really good on offense on Thursday night with Xavier Worthy and with everybody else, with Rashee Rice looking like he was ready for a year 2 breakout, and Travis Kelce was getting a decent amount of defensive attention and it was still working with other people. Noah Gray was good. I wouldn't rush him back. I wouldn't feel the need to push it unless he is truly fully recovered. If it's still like he's back to like 85-90%, I would just wait until the Falcons game in week 3 and hold off on trying to, because we saw what happened last year when the Chiefs rushed a wide receiver back from injury. That happened in training camp or in St. Joe with that first day of practice of Kadarius Toney, and how much it messed with his psyche all year long to have that first appearance in a game go horribly. I don't think it wouldn't go as poorly as that did, because Hollywood Brown would not be asked to be the wide receiver 1 on Sunday against the Bengals. But I just don't see a reason for them to ask Hollywood Brown to do something that is unnecessary. And if he's not completely healed, it would be unnecessary to risk him playing on Sunday. So I don't know whether he will or not. I would just say that if I was the Chiefs, I would not rush him back, and I would use what I saw in week 1 and use what I saw from the Bengals and say, this is an unnecessary risk if he's not fully and completely healthy. And by that, I mean, if he's not a full participant in practice pretty much all week long, I just don't think that he's needed to play. Yeah,
we'll get a better look at that on Wednesday. And to your point on the benefit in resting him, the Chiefs kept 7 receivers this year, so they're not lacking any depth at that position right now. Everyone made it out of the Ravens game relatively healthy. Andy Reid said today, nothing to report, which kind of reiterated what he said post-game on Thursday, so great news there. I don't know which way it's going to go. The way Andy Reid was talking about saying he's getting close, he's trending in the right direction. Andy Reid's not particularly one to show his cards or to be overly optimistic. So the fact that we got some signs that, hey, this could potentially happen, I think there's a 50-50 shot we see him on Sunday. Either way, though, Chiefs offense in good shape. We saw Xavier Worthy look really good in the season opener. Rashee Rice, I mean, that slant was just unstoppable. It's like, when are we going to figure this out, guys? It worked almost every time. Over 100 yards that game for him. So I think no matter what, you enter this game in really good shape. I know I'd much rather be a Kansas City Chiefs fan right now than a Cincinnati Bengals fan right now. Gabe, you did mention a name, a familiar friend, Kadarius Toney. Breaking news within, I think, the last hour or so that he is going to the Browns. We're not going to spend much time on this, but thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to the practice squad. I remember when we were discussing this throughout the preseason saying, I think once we had kind of accepted the reality that he was going to get cut, it was that he's not coming back to the Chiefs practice squad, and he will, because of the fact that he's a first-round pick, inevitably first-round picks get a second and a third chance, and the Chiefs were his second chance, the Browns are his third chance.
You think he gets the third
chance? And if I think he'll get onto their active roster a couple games, I don't know if he'll do anything.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Especially given the productivity levels of their passing game that we saw yesterday, which was another disaster in the state of Ohio yesterday. So, I don't think that that's going to be – I don't think I'm not anticipating that it's a move that it requires anyone, if you're playing fantasy football or something, to be like, oh, I got to rush to my waiver wire and go put in a waiver claim on Kadarius Toney. That's not what I would advise.
Best wishes to him. Don't think you'll have Kansas City on the best note. I also don't think you get a fourth try. So, hoping this goes well for him. Okay. On to a little bit of Royals action. Salvador Perez, the Roberto Clemente nominee for the Kansas City Royals. This is the third time in 4 seasons that he has been given that honor. This is a no-brainer. I mean, it really just is incredible what Salvy's done for the community. If you read on KCTV5.com, I mean, we could spend the next 20 minutes more than that just running through the list of things he does for his community back home and for the Kansas City community. And then little things like the story that blew up about him playing some t-ball in the backyard with some kids. Just real quick on this, Gabe, being from Kansas City yourself, what does Salvador Perez's legacy in progress mean to you and to this city? I
mean, the Mount Rushmore of Kansas City athletes is kind of, I don't think that he really makes it onto that just off of the prolific nature of George Brett, for example, Mahomes, for example. I think Travis Kelce's probably up there. When you think about it, I don't know if Perez makes it on that, but in terms of the fact that he's still the last connection of the World Series group of 2014 and 2015 of making it and then winning it, he sticking it out through the tough times. And I know that there's always been those reports of, he was willing to accept a trade and the Royals kind of looked last year, but then decided against doing it. The fact that he stuck through it all and is now tied to this team, which is at a 95% chance to make the playoffs. I think it's a really good bow on, and I don't think that his career is near over, but I think it's good to have the wholesome nature of his career kind of come full circle, and just to know that he's been attached to this franchise for more than a decade. The timeline kind of is similar to the length of time that Travis Kelce spent with the Chiefs, and from like the decade-long stature of things, it's just not something that you see a lot in pro sports these days, specifically with the Royals when you had Eric Hosmer left, Mike Moustakas left, Lorenzo Cain left. All of those guys are attached in a little bit to other franchises, whether it's Hosmer with the Padres or Lorenzo Cain went and had a good stint with the Brewers. Salvador Perez doesn't have that. He's just a Royal through and through. And I think that's really cool. And there's plenty of other community impacts that you've seen. And a couple weeks ago is like the latest example of that. And that's just awesome to see. Yeah.
I would argue he will be in the Mount Rushmore things. And I think we're going to see a Salvi statue down the road. But
I would agree that there will be
on
a Salvi statue.
Okay, do you rank Mount Rushmore above the statue? All right. That's a conversation for a different time. Yeah. All right. We're not getting to college football just yet. We want to get to Royals-Yankees, which kicks off in about 20 minutes on the road. The Royals, after a really rough start to the Guardians series, that was when they kind of were at the height of their 7-game losing streak, which is the longest of the season for the Boys in Blue by far. It was at 4 before that. They turned things around the last game of the series against the Guardians. Then they sweep the Twins, which is huge when it comes to division standings, and I think to just the Royals' momentum right now going into mid-September here. Gabe, your thoughts on this most recent homestand and kind of as we head into another big week on the road?
Well, offensively, they didn't necessarily fix everything. The pitching was just so dominant, and the hitting finally had some timely hits, whether it was the Tommy Pham 3-run home run on Wednesday night, whether it was the Tommy Pham RBI double to get them ahead on Friday night, and then Michael Massey hits a home run, and then just the whole 8th inning rally, Isbell singling, Bobby singling to give the lead. Everything kind of went right yesterday. You get an infield single RBI from Perez, which is just not something that you see very often. I mean, the starting pitching staff has been incredible. Just to the amount of, I think they're nearing getting to like triple the amount of quality starts that they had last season, which in a 1-year improvement, I know that the pitching staff overall has changed a ton, aside from the August and September dominance of Cole Reagans has translated to another full season of that. But the signings of Seth Lugo and Michael Waka, like those single-handedly are going to get JJ Piccolo MLB Executive of the Year. Waka, I think he's had like seven of his last 8 starts or quality starts. It's something along those lines, and he's just been going up there giving you 6 or 7 innings of scoreless ball or 1-run, 2-run ball for almost 2 months. It's been incredible to watch, and I'm very intrigued to see what it looks like in the like little league field of Yankee Stadium, which you can just have like a bloop hit to right field, go for a home run, essentially. That's dramatizing things, but I'm very intrigued to see what this series looks like because it could be a playoff preview.
Yeah. To your point on the front office, I think it's pretty cool how quickly we've seen the labors of the Royals front office in the offseason come to fruition. I mean, it was a quick turnaround, and there was this like 2-week period over the course of the offseason where we just kept getting like signing after signing, news release after news release, culminating in that Bobby Wood Jr. signing. And for the Royals to turn it around from a 106-loss season to talking about playoff probability in the 90s now in mid-September is pretty cool. All right, last topic of the day. We are going to skim quickly but effectively through college football. We had 3 big games over the weekend. Here we go. The Tigers and the Wildcats picking up wins. K-State survives on the road at Tulane. Nice interception at the end of the game to seal out the win. Mizzou absolutely blows past Buffalo. They're now 89-0, a combined score in their first 2 games. The only team in the country to not allow a single point. KU, though, disappointing loss at Illinois. They've dropped out of the top 25. I think those are predictable bumps. I think K-State went up 3 spots, Mizzou 3 spots. But the headliner there, the Tigers, now have their highest ranking since 2013, about 11 years, Gabe.
Yeah, I think that we learned a good amount about K-State and KU this past weekend. I think we'll learn a little bit more about Mizzou this coming weekend when they finally play a power conference opponent and they get Boston College, who's better than people anticipated them being this season, given that they've got a win over Florida State, which was a significant upset given what the spread was. I don't know if it was a significant upset when you factor in how disappointing Florida State has been this year.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see what Mizzou does this coming weekend. I don't think that you learn much about them based on how they played against Buffalo. But K-State won a game against a team that's going to be vying for that group of 5 spot in the playoff. And KU just kind of the self-inflicted errors of not recognizing how dominant they were in the run game and just continually throwing the ball. It almost felt like they were forcing Jalen Daniels into trying to create success, and it just didn't work. I don't think that it's a game that they should have lost. I also think that it's signs of considering what KU was years ago. The fact that an opposing student section is storming the field against you to win is kind of nuts.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
And the sky is not necessarily falling because in today's era of college football, the 12-team playoff era, where you get an automatic bid if you win the league, a non-conference loss is not hurting you.
Yeah.
So it hurts the perception, it hurts the momentum, I guess, but it doesn't necessarily derail their hopes. Yeah. And I think that you saw this weekend that the Big 12 is up for grabs. Like Arizona didn't look good against Northern Arizona. K-State played a tight one against Tulane. There's still questions about how successful their passing game is going to be. And as a former Pac-12 guy, watching Utah, Cam Rising got hurt again. Like, shocker. He's been hurt his entire college career. So I don't think that anyone in the Big 12 has extremely separated themselves. Iowa State had a good win, but I still think the Big 12 race is going to be crazy, and KU is still going to be in it competing.
It's funny. Every time I hear the phrase "the sky is falling," I think about the Chiefs losing skid last season. A ceiling panel actually fell down, like by Chris Jones when he was giving his post-game presser. Anyway, back to the point. Kind of sweeping through them, giving my highlights. Mizzou, they have played Buffalo and Murray State, but we've seen a lot of top 25 teams get upset over the weekend. So for them to take care of business is all you could ask for these first 2 weeks. K-State, I'm curious to see how this next week goes. Avery Johnson, this is his first year as the guy for the Wildcats, so he had a good day. But I think the passing game is yet to be kind of discovered. Johnson finding his footwork there. Incredible on the run. I mean, he is. That's why you saw him kind of backing up Will Howard last season. He gets snaps because he's so good on the run. But and then finally, KU, tough loss. I mean, that's Illinois' first win over a top 25 team in 5 years. But I really liked your point about having a team storm the field against KU. Like, imagine saying that sentence
when Lance Leipold got hired. If you said within 5 years they're going to have a loss on the road and somebody will storm the field, you'd say, like, that's insane.
Yeah. A silver lining for sure, but just kind of speaks to the momentum change and kind of the cultural shift that Lance Leipold has made in Lawrence. Jalen Daniels is kind of not a red flag, but like an area of concern and something I think we should be watching closely going into this weekend, because 2 years ago he was a potential Heisman candidate. I mean, he was literally in the Heisman conversation. Then he gets hurt for, essentially 2 seasons in a row. He played a couple games. I think he played 3 games last season. There was a lot of hype around, okay, he's healthy. He made it through camp. He's feeling great. He had 3 interceptions and a fumble against Illinois. So not what you're looking for out of a guy that you have such high expectations on. Chalk it up to a bad day. Chalk it up to maybe rust that he's shaking off. But certainly not what the Jayhawks were hoping in getting Daniels back. But still early. We are on week 3 college football, week 2 of the NFL. A lot more to talk about this week. But for now, that will do it. Thanks so much, Gabe, for your time. And thanks, everyone, for watching.